I would say that period of my life, my faith kind of just was small and then grew. Good momentum until hitting college.
Okay. There's shock. I mean,
that's.
Oh, really? You went to Harvard and your faith was challenged?
Yeah, wild.
I'm shocked to hear that.
Well, it was.
But there are very good Catholics at Harvard.
Totally.
I make fun of Harvard sometimes, and then Harvard people tell me, "Stop it! There's good Catholics there."
Oh, I don't care. You can make fun of Harvard. It's great.
All right.
It's all good fun. I mean, the short of it is that like, I was not the smartest one in any of the classes. I was probably in the bottom half or the bottom quartile, and realized that I'm also one of the only ones that has faith. So maybe I'm dumb for being Catholic.
Really?
That was like the intellectual. So the seed was planted. Like, all right, I'm kind of not the smartest one here. Maybe everyone's just got it figured out, and I'm kind of slow to the game. And like, there's, I'm just haven't really like grown up. And then I, in particular, had a really rough class where the teacher basically outwardly opened up the class at the beginning and pre-apologized for the fact that he was basically going to like ruin faith for a lot of us. Evolutionary psychology. So you can imagine psychology, evolution, basically.
Wasn't Daniel Dennett, was it? No, he wasn't there at Harvard. I forget where he was.
But it was like undermining beauty and goodness and altruism, and like going into the psychological and evolutionary reasons why those things are just products of the materialism that like so many people believe.
And was it that intellectual challenge to your faith? Was it a grave challenge?
Yes,
it was.
Yes, it was.
So you were in a crisis.
I was in a very, very serious crisis, and I probably would have thrown in the towel if I didn't have the habit of going to mass. And I am a social person. I went up to the priest after and I was like, hey, I think I'm dumb for believing this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Father Matt, he's a great Navy chaplain, just doesn't pull any punches. I said, I think I'm done. He goes, before you throw in the towel, you should read G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to throw...
He threw you a lifeline.
Yeah, threw me a lifeline. And he didn't preach at me. He could have. He probably would have landed. He's very, very good homilist. But he's just like, you need to read Orthodoxy. And I, can read. So went and got Orthodoxy, and it saved my faith.
What in Chesterton saved your faith?
Yeah. The analogy at the beginning, where he talks about the man in the insane asylum. Have you read Orthodoxy?
Yes, I have.
Okay, yeah. You might remember this. There's so much in there.
I actually am not recalling it.
Okay,
so I apologize for that.
No, it's great. It's great. This is the analogy, and it strikes me as the parallel. But he unpacks this. He's kind of hard to read. Chesterton, I find him hard to read too. I'm glad finally a Harvard guy says Chesterton's hard. No, man, he's super hard.
I thought it was just us Boston College guys. I didn't know that Harvard people had trouble with it too.
It's totally hard. It took me forever to finish it, even though I loved it. I was loving every page, but it took me like a long time I ended up reading through, some stuff you just read past it and then come back to it later. Yeah. Or else I never would have finished. The analogy, so I'm a big analogy guy. I like analogies. The analogy he gives is beautiful. It's of a man in an insane asylum who believes that everyone is a figment of his play. So he believes that he is the center of the world, and everyone that comes, so he's in this place, and he believes that everyone that comes into his life, the person who's bringing him food, the person who's talking with him, is all just there as like part of the acting of a play, and it's actually him as the center of the universe. And there's nothing you can tell that person. There's no proof point you can give that person to break them out of that worldview. It's completely plausible. Hey, there is. The person comes in. They're trying to explain that they're a real person too. He's just filtering it through the lens of you're just a play. You're just an actor in my play. Of course you'd say that. You've been scripted to say that. So he's still the center of the universe. There's nothing you can say to break him out of it. So in his mind, it's plausible. It's fully plausible, and that's in one camp. The other camp is that you are a person, so this person realizes that they actually are one person amongst many, and that everyone has their own experiences, and that he's actually part of a larger play. And the Chesterton analogy is basically like, to that person, both might be possible, but one is more exciting and beautiful. Which one do you want to try first?
Oh, wow.
So it's like materialism could hold water. Like material, you can't really. there's obviously miracles that would break through, but you talk to someone who's like really hardcore materialist, they're just like,
I mean, material wouldn't break through. I mean, a miracle wouldn't break through because there's nothing that can break through a solipsism. That you can't if the person is committed to it.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. And so his thing was like, I'm trying to present a more beautiful alternative that's worth exploring first.
Wonderful.
And I was like, I needed that permission to not need to disprove everything this professor just did and like go to town with all these people who like are probably objectively just way higher IQs than me, but I can explore something equally as plausible and more beautiful. And then I've since explored it, and I've just found it to be true.
Isn't it wonderful that what Chesterton did there, and I'm totally baffled that I have no recollection of this, but what he did there was an invitation. That's the primary, the person in the crisis of faith doesn't need just explanations or threats or any whatever other. The fundamental strategy is invitation. Make a convincing invitation.
Yes.
And then it's up to the person to pursue that invitation.
That's exactly right. So from that point, I basically, dove. I kept going to mass, but dove more seriously into the intellectual tradition.
Wonderful.
Started to unravel things and realized that I wasn't dumb for being Catholic.
Right.
Maybe less intelligent than most people in the room, but it took me on the path of loving the intellectual tradition of the Catholic Church, and then since then deepening my prayer life, and from there is.
Okay, so what else in the intellectual tradition of the Catholic Church grabbed you? I mean, Chesterton, he's really something, isn't he? He's like, even you think of people like C.S. Lewis, who so many people really is deeply indebted to Chesterton.
Oh yeah,
and all of them are indebted to Cardinal Newman.
Yes,
I mean that's really that's where that whole. To me, that's if you chase it all that English apologetics back to Newman.
Yes,
but who grabbed you? Did Lewis, for example?
Lewis definitely grabbed me. Thomas Aquinas. I've needed to read his stuff kind of for dummies. I wasn't going into the Summa and like diving in right away. But I also found that, so I started to take classes. This is the benefit of a liberal arts education. I started to take classes in philosophy. And it's a way of thinking that is different and so much different than maybe an engineering or a mathematical. It's like it's a higher order level of thought. And I hadn't really been exposed to philosophy before. So I actually had a great professor who kind of took us through a bunch of different schools of, from Stoicism through Aquinas to, the philosophy behind capitalism and just a lot of the different thinkers. We had to read Kant and all these different, competing worldviews to Catholicism. And I was able to just get to the point where I could actually process through what people were saying and think philosophically about things.
Right.
So it wasn't necessarily that I just like read every single thing, Chesterton wrote off the bat. I don't have quite a like Bishop Barron-esque story where you just like go in and just like really start reading everything. But I learned the skill of being able to think philosophically.
Yeah.
And since then I've just been able to kind of grow in that. It was a huge gift.
I feel like you talked about gamifying work. I feel like, if I may, what Chesterton did for you was gamify education. That there was a thing where there was a challenge. Is it this thing or is it that thing? And you had to go explore. It gave a purpose to your education,
yes. Not
just an undirected, let me do the Harvard curriculum, but a directed, I am seeking something here in my education. And one of the problems with young people going to college is they're actually not seeking anything. They're not there seeking knowledge or wisdom, understanding. They're there to do whatever the things are that they're supposed to do. Yes. So that they can get the thing they're supposed to get.
Totally. And it's a two-edged sword because in a liberal arts education, which I know the world's kicking and screaming against for, more practical world life, job training skills. But in a liberal arts, it's especially dangerous because you can end up taking a bunch of classes that you just have to fill the core curriculum. But if you don't have purpose, for me, being able to directly take English and philosophy and the study of history through American film and like do these things, but like with a philosophical lens of depth and like the looking for truth. That was a huge gift. I had the permission to take these randomly disparate, like I'll never get that chance again.
No.
So I think you're right. It did kind of gamify it and give some purpose to something that would have been aimless.
Right. And if it's aimless, it's vulnerable because, you just get knocked around by whatever the evolutionary biology. And there's nothing wrong with evolutionary biology, but that person who said that understands only a piece of the pie, and that's that professor's problem.
Yeah,
is not understanding the whole pie.
Yeah, Chesterton writes, "An open mind is like an open house without a roof."
Yeah,
you don't build very well. You don't live very well. You need a door.
Yeah,
you get into the house via a door that has some intelligence behind it.
Right, and how wonderful that Chesterton was the door that opened for you.